Enormous day of news. They come in the air hours after an Oval Office ambush of an American ally that will reverberate all around the world and stain America's image for years to come. What was meant to be a photo op with our ally, Ukraine's president, part of a visit in which President Zelensky was to sign a deal over his country's minerals and in return secure security support for Ukraine. It revealed instead of Donald Trump and a J.D. Vance clearly on an errand for Vladimir Putin. Trump and Vance berating Zelensky in public for the entire world to see after Zelensky pointed out the facts of how the war in Ukraine started. Here's what happened.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring people, you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems? Bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't have. You're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this entire meeting, you said thank you.
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What will you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that.
The message sent to our allies and our adversaries by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance is now loud and clear, unmistakable. The pro-Putin stance of America's president and vice president, undeniable, unequivocal, completely out of step, not just with the American public. Just 9% of all Americans think Vladimir Putin is to be trusted, according to one recent poll, but also out of step, at least before today, with the Republican Party and his own cabinet. Here's Donald Trump's current national security advisor and current Secretary of State.
Zelensky and the Ukrainians are clearly showing the will to fight. I do believe he's turning out to be a modern-day Winston Churchill.
No matter what, there always has to be a real, legitimate Ukrainian state that we have a relationship with. And I don't know why we can't begin to openly say we will support them as long as they are willing to fight, even if it's an insurgency.
That was then. Today's today. Here's what happened after the Oval Office ambush. A press conference between President Zelensky and Donald Trump that was scheduled for later this afternoon was abruptly canceled. Video here shows Zelensky leaving the White House. Trump officials telling NBC News that that mineral deal was not signed. Trump lashed out at Zelensky on social media, saying that he can, quote, come back when he's ready for peace, end quote. Unsurprisingly, the public berating of the leader of a nation that the entire world understood to be an American ally is being celebrated in Moscow tonight. New York Times reporting this, quote, Russian state media are savoring what they describe as a public dressing down for President Vladimir Zelensky. A TV host said on his evening show that the Oval Office meeting, quote, looks more like a public flagellation for Zelensky and something that, quote, no one expected from the United States president. That's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Former CIA director, now an MSNBC senior national security analyst, John Brennan's here. Also joining us, New York Times diplomatic correspondent Michael Crowley's here. With me at the table, former National Security Council Director for European Affairs, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman's here. He's also the author of the new book, The Folly of Realism, How the West Deceived Itself About Russia and Betrayed Ukraine. Let me start with you, Michael Crowley, and the latest on how this day has been completely thrown into chaos in terms of what was planned between two countries and their leaders.
Thanks, Nicole. Where to begin? I mean, this was a completely astonishing spectacle. And people who, I've been in Washington for a long time, but people who have been covering the White House and Washington even longer say what I believe, which is that this is something we've never seen before. You know, Donald Trump, you think this president has run out of ways to kind of stun and amaze us, and then he comes up with a new one. To have this kind of a confrontation in the Oval Office, and what, remember, was not even supposed to be a press conference, but a brief pool spray, basically a photo op, is totally astounding. And, you know, it just leaves everything up in the air. The relationship right now is in a state of crisis between the U.S. and Ukraine. And for a moment before all of this, it looked like, you know, it was going to be rocky, it was uneasy, but Zelensky and Trump might be able to reach some kind of a wary understanding. They were going to do this deal on minerals that Trump could portray as a victory. You know, in my read, Zelensky was going to come here, give him a deal on Ukraine's rare earth minerals that he wasn't really excited about, but it was a way to try to buy goodwill with Trump, get his buy-in to the process. You know, Trump yesterday declined to repeat his epithet of dictator as it applies to Zelensky when he was asked by a reporter. So it looked like maybe they were going to move forward constructively. And then things went completely off the rails. And I have to tell you, I don't know where we go from here. I think the first big question I'll say in conclusion is, what does Zelensky say when he does an interview that's going to be televised on another network later today? How does Zelensky play? Is he apologetic? Does he try to walk it all back? Or does he stand firm? You know, he was more defiant in that exchange than I might have expected. He never backed down and said, all right, let's de-escalate. So a lot of it here is, you know, how does he want to play it, as well as the White House?
Director Brennan, he'll be on Fox News with Bret Baier. And I'd say a lot of Fox News anchors know the facts. Bret Baier probably knows them better than just about anyone. Bret Baier knows that Russia is the aggressor. Bret Baier knows that Zelensky is America's ally. It'll be interesting to watch Bret Baier as well, as Republicans like Marco Rubio seem to capitulate from views he held 48 hours ago to siding with Donald Trump in this global, scandalous embarrassment for an American president.
Yeah, absolutely, Nicole. This certainly was a day of shame for the United States. That clip, the footage of the Oval Office meeting, is going to be shown for years to come by politicians, government officials, historians, university professors, because it very clearly captures the moment when the Trump administration sent a signal that it was ceding America's traditional global leadership role, that we were going to be abandoning our allies and partners, that we were not going to stand up to violent aggression that takes place in Ukraine by Russia. And so Donald Trump has been used to individuals groveling at his feet, which only fuels his arrogance, his threats of intimidation, and his bullying. And President Zelensky, fortunately, I think, has too much integrity, especially after seeing hundreds of thousands of his fellow citizens slaughtered and killed and injured by the Russians, seeing much of his country destroyed. He has too much integrity to be sitting there and listening to the misrepresentations of fact and history that were being shoveled by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And so, again, I think what he is doing, President Zelensky, is standing up. I wish more people would stand up because, again, it's just fueling this bullying attitude of Donald Trump. And so, it's very unfortunate and very disappointing that this meeting didn't go better, because I think it really is critically important that Ukraine and the United States, under the Trump administration, find some type of modus vivendi whereby we can continue to provide the support. But it's very clear that Donald Trump has decided that he's going to cede as much territory as possible and as much political initiative as possible to Vladimir Putin. And so, again, the signal it sends to our allies and partners around the globe, as well as to our adversaries, it shows that the United States is no longer the United States of the past 80 years.